We now go on to functions, or how to define functions in Python. Okay, so let me just save this file as func or functions. Yeah, functions.py. Let's understand how functions are defined, or how they're going to be. Functions are, what are functions, by the way? Functions are nothing but pieces of code which are defined for reusability anytime you call it. So you can call functions anytime. Oops, pieces of code. Right. So you can have functions which can be called, which can be defined anytime in your code, and then they can be used anytime you want. But functions will not execute by themselves. You need to call them. They can be defined in your program, but still not be called, but still never be used, but still never be executed. So let's see how to define a function. Functions are defined with the keyword called as def space. You need to give a function name. Let's say I give a function name, let me say f1. This is a function name. And here we have a function. All it does, of course, you require a colon and an enter, which means indentation. Let's say it says print hello world. That's it. This is what it does. Save it, run it. Okay, it's run. Function is defined. But have you called it? No. Can I call it over here? Yes, it is defined, which means I can call it from my shell too. If I say F1, it will print hello world. You can call it n number of times, and yet it would do the task that it is called for. I don't need to print hello world because I have a function which does that for me. Now, can I do that in my code? Yes, in my code itself, I can call the function hundreds of times, but outside the function, I can call it F1. Again, if you want, I can call it F1, right? So you can call F1 twice. So when I call the function, it will do the task that it is kept for, or that is defined for. Now comes a question. Okay, so if the function is defined with this particular in this particular manner, and whenever I call the function, it can be executed. Okay, so that's quite cool. So you can, whenever you make your IoT application, all right, we are going to define many things in functions. And once they are defined in functions, you just need to call them whenever you want and get your task done, right? Cool. So now this is about functions. Okay. Now all we have to do is, let's say I need to, so I call this function and this will do the task. Now what if I wanted to do something? Let's say when I call the function, I pass some parameter. Let's say I pass 2. Okay, because then I want that this 2 should be used somewhere in my program, should be used somewhere in my function. So if I call it 2 just like this for now, it will give me an error. Why it will give me an error? It says F1 takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. He says, boss, my function F1 does not take any arguments. It does not receive any arguments, but you have given me 1 argument. Now, I don't have any arguments. So what should I do? I should redefine my function in such a way that I should say, if any of them by chance send or call my function and they pass an argument, I should take that into a particular variable. Let's say 2 is passed in F1. Okay, 2 is passed over here in F1. That 2, when it is passed, if I have to use it anywhere in my program, I should store that 2 in a variable. Let's say A. Now I can say print function was called with parameter A. Function was called with parameter A. So I can call first the function with 2, and then I can call the function with 5. And if I run this, it will print hello world, function was called with parameter 2. Hello world, function was called with parameter 5. So a function can be called with different parameters also. Okay. Now let's say, what if I pass two parameters? Let's say 2, 5 and 5, 15. Okay. So when I call this, let's say print hello world function. So now I need to take them into, if I run this just like this, it will give me an error. What is the error? It will say F1 takes 1 positional argument, but you gave 2. No, I can't take 2. I need to redefine my function. Let's say A, B. Let's say now function was called with parameters A, B. Save and run. Function was called with parameters 2 and 5. Function was called with parameters 5 and 15. Yes, that is done. Now let me do, instead of printing hello world and function was called with these parameters, let me do a task. Let me make the function do something like this. C is equal to A plus B. Let me do an addition. Let me do some operation. Let me do some calculation. And then all I need to do is print C, which will print for me what? Function F5. It will print for me what is the value of C. So 2 plus 5, when I sent it, I call the function with 2, 5. So this function adds these two numbers, 2 and 5. And 5 plus 2, 7. And then it prints the addition. 5 plus 15, 20. It prints 20. Right? So you have functions which will take in parameters, do a particular task, and print it out. Now, when you call a function, you pass some parameters. Now let's say there may be sometimes you might feel, what if this guy, what if I send him parameters and he prints it out? After that, he should give me back, the function should give me back some output. It's currently printing the output, right? No, instead of printing the output, it should give it back to me. Okay, I don't want him to print it. I just want him to do a particular operation and give me the calculated result from the operation, give it back to me. That means when I call F1, I pass 2, 5. It will do an operation like A plus B, and then instead of printing A plus B, instead of printing this, it should return back to the place from where it was called. It should return what? It should return C. It should return the value of C. I don't want him to print the C, but I want him to return the C. So I'm going to use the return keyword. Now comes the question. If he returns a particular value, now if I save this and if I run this, it will not print anything. Why? Because when the function was called fine. Function was called, the operation was done, and the function returned C, but the function did not print anything. And even in the main program, you are not printing anything. Yes, right or wrong? The function is not printing anything, and you are also not printing anything in the main program, nor are you storing this particular whatever this function has returned. Correct? So what you need to do? You need to store it. You need to say F1 of 2, 5. When I call it, it is going to return to me a value that I need to store it in someone, S1. When I call F1 with 5, 15, I should store it in a variable called as sum2. All I need to do is print sum of, what's that? A and B is what? Is S1. S1, the answer is there in A and B. Can it be possible? Can you write sum of A and B is S1? Is this A and B which is there in the function, can it be accessible outside? Let's save and run and see. What does it say? It says name A is not defined. Boss, A is not defined. You cannot say A and B because that A and B is inside the function. You can't use variables inside the function outside in the main. So I can just for now print S1, and let me just print S1 and let me print S2. Okay, now save, and if I run this, it will print for me the sum of these two numbers. It is not printing in the function. It is returning the value, returning something from the function, which is the sum. I am storing it in a S1. And I am storing S2, which is a function which is adding two other numbers. And that I am printing S2. Now, instead of storing in a variable, I could have also done something like this. Print F1 2, 5. I could have also done print F1 5, 15. Instead of storing it in some variable, I could have directly printed the value that is returned by F1 2, 5. I could say enter and it would give me the same answer. Correct? Now, instead of return C in this case, if I had printed C, or forget, it did not print C and it did not return C. If I now print F1 2, 5, even though that operation is being done, what is going to be the answer? Because the function is not returning anything. If I save it and run it, function is not returning anything. If I print what is the function returning, what is going to be displayed is none. So remember that when you call a function and when you print it, sometimes you get none. You should understand that function does not return anything for you. Hope that is very clear. All right. So this is about functions and this is how you define functions and how you return from a function. We go on to an important concept in the next video, and that is functions with default arguments and keyword arguments, and also we are going to explore the print built-in function in detail in the next video. Thank you.